Welcome to the Pinch to Zoom podcast. I'm Stetson.
And I'm Gabe.
In this episode, we're covering some insane camera releases, as well as talking about our predictions for the upcoming Apple iPhone event on September 10th.
Yeah, kicking off September releases and getting into the holiday fall Q3, Q4 season. It's an exciting time of the year.
It's a great game to be played. Lots of seats are open. The crowd goes wild. Tons of cool players on the field. I think Marquez Brownlee calls this Techtober in October. And of course, we have the iPhone in September. We're just getting into a huge holiday onslaught of smartphone releases. We just had the Note series come out. So it's going to be an exciting time.
Yeah, the Pixel 4 I know will be coming out in the fall as well. So very exciting indeed. But first off, we got some quick news. Well, I guess it's quick camera news. Camera news. I don't know what it is. It's quick news. What do we got up first, Stetson? We got a bunch of cameras, right?
We got an onslaught of cameras, Gabe.
All right.
And you've been keeping your eyes out, right?
Yes, I know. I'm ready for the. What do we got first?
4 new cameras.
All
First
right, okay.
one, we're talking 6K internal recording.
A7
4K
S3
up to 60
baby.
frames per second.
Yes, this is
looking great.
I have to pre-order this now. I think
this is the
Sony A7S III, right?
Panasonic S1H.
No.
Ooh, Gabe, sorry, that is a tough loss for you there.
Yeah,
but it's okay because we actually had 2 cameras announced by Sony.
Okay, well, we'll get to those in a second. I'm assuming that's like the A7S III and something else, but we'll get to those in a second. The S1H now from Panasonic, that's a full-frame camera, right?
This is a full-frame camera, and it's packing.
Okay, good. So we already have the S1 and the S1R from Panasonic that were released last spring or in the fall sometime, and they're, mainly for photography. The S1R, it's a high-res camera. S1 is more of like kind of the A7 III type, kind of for everyone. Both of them are priced, kind of in the $3,000 range. What's the S1H bringing in at?
The S1H is ringing in at just under $4,000, $3,997. It's expensive.
Yeah, it's not cheap, but it does 6K, you said.
It does 6K internal recording, 10-bit at 420. Internal 4K recording, 10-bit at 422. It's pretty good. I think the big perk for me with this camera is that there's no crop on the image. We brought up the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K camera. That crops in on the image. When you switch to those lower resolution, it crops in on the sensor.
I think this does crop in, actually. Sorry to
burst my bubble?
Yeah, your bubble is just completely burst. I'm pretty sure it crops into APS-C or Super 35 when you're doing 4K 60.
Yeah, it does crop at 4K 60, but for just shooting regular 4K 30, that's going to be, I think, the full sensor readout.
Okay, well, that's pretty good. And for people who are wondering, you said a bunch of 4.2, blah, 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 stuff like that, 422, 420. For people wondering what that is actually your color sample ratio. And now how that works basically is you have, all right, so it's 444 is the best, for example. And that means if you have a row of 2 rows of 4 pixels, right? 4 pixels on top, 4 pixels underneath. Every single pixel in those 2 rows are going to get color and luma values. So luma is your how dark or how bright it is, and color is obviously which color it is. So 444 is the optimal thing. Now, if you get to other cameras, like for example, if it has 420 or 422, 422 will mean basically that it gets still all of them get luma values, so you get how bright or dark it is. But the camera is going to start consolidating your color information. So on the top row for 422, they're going to combine 2 of the pixels into 1 pixel. So you only have 2 pixels on the top then, because it's going to take 4 pixels, turn them into 2, and it's going to do the same thing on the bottom. So that means you have 2 rows of 4 pixels, but ultimately they're going to be 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, right? Now,
I follow.
420 is you're going to have 2 on the top and 0 on the bottom because it's actually going to just be basically 2 blocks of color.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so now you can see clearly how much better 444 is, and then also how 422 is even better than 420, because you originally have, or should have, if you have 8 pixels, you should have 8 pixel color values, but they, in order to save space and processing speed, they're going to actually cut those down to 420 actually only having 2 values of color.
Wow, that's a good explanation, Gabe. The good thing for me, at least, is the 4K will support 422 color, so you will get those extra color values while you're recording.
And the 10-bit color space, as we went over in the past episode, basically means you get more options for colors. So yeah, better color values overall.
This camera does look extremely solid. I would say more in a studio environment. The one thing I wanted to comment on here is the autofocus. The S1H from Panasonic is using contrast-based autofocus. And from what I've seen, it's been super mediocre for video performance, like tracking subjects and things like that. It's slower, doesn't quite follow you as fast as, say, Canon's dual-pixel autofocus or even what Sony has to offer. So not really for vlogging. It is a little bit of a chunkier camera.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's why I think it's not for vlogging. Yeah, it weighs 2.5 pounds. That's pretty heavy.
It's a hefty camera. Again, I think better in a studio environment with more controlled scenarios. Still, I mean, it's kind of expensive at $4,000, but you are getting full frame 6K video, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I probably won't switch to this. I have, decent amount of Sony glass, so I'll probably stick with Sony, but if they didn't release the A7S III, which I think they did, it's one of those new cameras, right?
Yeah, there were 2 cameras released recently by Sony.
But anyways, I would, this is possibly on my radar, but I think right now, other than a Sony camera, if I had to look out there, I'd look most likely at either possibly the Blackmagic 6K, Pocket Cinema Camera 6K, or maybe something from Canon.
Those are good options. And I think Fujifilm, they have their X-T3, which you could consider as well for 6K video.
Yeah, that's enticing. But moving on to the Sony cameras, because this has got to be the A7S III, right?
Oh, yeah, Gabe. So from Sony, we had, of course, the A6100. This is a new mirrorless point-and-shoot APS-C camera.
Well, yeah, what's the other one? The other one's full frame, right?
Okay, and the other... Oh, God.
No.
Oh, God.
I don't like
Gabe...
this.
It's a really good camera, but it's the Sony A6600.
Oh my God, Sony is just trolling us now. Like, this is out of control. They've released now they've released the RX100 Mark VII. They've released the A7R4, and now they've released these 2. That's 4 cameras in the past 3 months, and no A7S III. So Sony, you're doing me dirty on this thing. But anyways, the A66 and A6100 are exciting cameras. All jokes aside, both APS-C, and mainly that's exciting because it's a cheaper camera, so it's better for beginner filmmakers and people just getting started, and also for traveling because it's not as big of a camera body.
Absolutely. I would say this actually fits really well into, let's say, your beginner first camera for getting into YouTube, right? Where the Sony A6600 starts at $1,400, which is a little expensive, but you're getting 4K video at 30 frames per second, 1080p up to 120 frames per second, and the game changer here is Sony introduced real-time eye detect autofocus during video. This is huge.
It's not, I don't think it's introduced, it's brought it over from the A7R4.
Correct.
I guess they took it from the R4 and introduced it to this, you could say, but it's...
Yeah, I mean, this is like their more budget lineup, and that's a really amazing feature.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the S3, it's exciting that if they're putting this all in their budget, like APS-C cameras, what are they going to do in their full-frame, top-of-the-line video camera when/if it ever comes out?
To differentiate it, right.
Yeah. I mean, looking at what Panasonic did in the S1H, I would be definitely hoping that Sony would match that with the S3 and hopefully go a little further, possibly getting 4K 60 on the full frame sensor and, getting 6K, obviously, with maybe 10-bit color.
I don't know, Gabe. I was hearing that some people are losing faith and hope that Sony will have 4K 60 in the A7S III because these two new cameras from Sony actually didn't. There were no improvements to the bit depth, frame rate, or resolution on these cameras.
They have to be able to differentiate it somewhere, right? You don't want to come out with, your two, like, this would be if Canon came out with better features in their, lower spec, like T7 series cameras, or Nikon came out, with better features in their, D50-200 stuff. So
that makes sense.
I don't really, I don't see that as a bad thing. I see it as more, these cameras, if you look at what they're replacing the A6500 and kind of the A5100, I guess would be their two replacements. And yeah, they're both doing incredible things. I mean, the big thing here is how long the battery life is. It's their new Z battery pack, and it will actually do 720 shots before being swapped out. Like, that's ridiculous.
That is very impressive. What other cameras use that Z battery?
I'm actually not sure. Do you know?
I have no idea. I was really hoping you could come through on that one.
Well, I will quickly Google it, but while I'm Googling it, why don't you mention some more specs, possibly?
Yeah, I think the other big thing here with these small cameras is the flip-up screen. So I mentioned real-time eye detect autofocus. You pair that with a screen that flips up so you can see yourself. Boom. This is looking and shaping up to be one of the best video cameras for vloggers.
Okay, well, now I got the Z series. That one actually is used in your A7 III, by the way.
That was awkward. I really should have known that, but I never pull the battery out of my camera because I have to charge it while it's in the camera.
What? So you don't have a dual charger?
No, I don't have. I have one battery, and it just sits in the camera. Well, that's
definitely a testament to how good the battery is. I have currently 4 or 5 batteries for my S2. Sorry, I've already started saying S3 so much. And that's a common thing with older Sony cameras. So that's good that their new Z series is better. But yeah, these are out now, available for pre-order, I think, currently, and I'm not sure when they are shipping. Do you know?
I think sometime in November.
Okay, that's kind of expected. It'll be out for the holiday season, and good Sony cameras. I've used them before. I know a lot of people like them better for vlogging than their full frame cameras because they're lighter. So that's one thing, and also they're cheaper, but you still get a lot of the things like the 5-axis in-body stabilization, and just that good Sony quality with the 4K 30 and the slow motion of HD and 120 frames a second.
The one thing I do want to note is those specs are really for the A6600. The A6100, first of all, comes in starting at $750 for the body. Very affordable price point, but you're losing out on in-body image stabilization, you're losing out on that real-time eye detect autofocus, and you're losing out on S-Log and HLG picture profiles. You also have a slightly lower resolution electronic viewfinder. So some things to keep in mind, but at that $750 price point, this is still an incredibly compelling offering from Sony.
Okay, yeah, just read the shipping date, Friday, November 29th. So right at the end of November. After you had a good turkey, Thanksgiving or whatever, get that new camera, start shooting some beautiful stuff in the snow and whatnot.
It's almost too soon for that. It's still like hot outside. We haven't even made it through fall
let's
yet.
not think about that. Let's think about the 2 other new cameras that we got from Canon. Now, these, unfortunately, were not full-frame cameras. That would be exciting, to see a new mirrorless full-frame, possibly dedicated for video. But no, not the case. We're seeing 2 new APS-C sensor cameras. What are they, Stetson?
We have today with us the Canon EOS M6 Mark II, starting at $850, and the Canon 90D, starting at $1,200.
Wow, the 90D now, for people who don't know, that is the follow-up to the 80D, which was the follow-up to the 70D. And that series of video of DSLR cameras is dedicated to video, right?
I would say it's more focused for video. It's been extremely popular on YouTube. Casey Neistat basically used the Canon 70D to launch his channel into fame and oblivion. So having
and he's still, the crazy thing was he's still using that, even I know as recent as like last year. He was, well, not the 70D, but the 80D. And this is some guy, Casey could afford any camera on the market easily, and he went with the Canon 80D because that was the one that was lightest, most durable, and great lenses for it too.
I think ultimately just easy to use. It has a great touchscreen on the back, easy to tap to focus. You can easily navigate the menu system, and the dual pixel autofocus in the Canon cameras is absolutely phenomenal, despite the extremely small autofocus area when you compare it with other autofocus options out there.
Okay, so we got 4K recording. Did they put dual pixel autofocus on the 4K recording, Stetson?
I think yes.
No, the answer is no.
They did not.
50-50 shot.
I had a 50-50. Hey, I'm done taking tests right now. My multiple choice true-false skills
you're not
clearly
up
in
for
decline.
the challenge anymore. But yeah, that was a bit of a bummer that they didn't do that. Or wait, did they do that? Now I just confused myself. They didn't bring 4K 24 frames a second is one thing.
That is true. This is a true fact. There's no 24 frames per second recording on these cameras. No explanation why. That's like the standard cinematic look. Personally, I'm a 30 frames per second kind of guy, so I couldn't care less about this, but I do know some people out there kind of upset about it. I guess to Gabe's point, they did introduce eye detection and face detection while recording, but here's the but. If you want to shoot slow motion video, 1080p at 120 frames per second, this is where you lose out. You get no continuous autofocus, and you get no sound. You get both of these features when you are shooting at 120 frames per second with the Sony cameras. So I honestly, spec-wise and price-wise, Sony continues to deliver, in my mind, better price to performance ratio. That said, you can still have a great experience if you're interested in picking up a Canon camera. They have great color science. The dual pixel AF, when it is working, works extraordinarily well. And Canon, of course, has phenomenal lens support. So I still think these cameras will be appreciated by the Canon community, but it would have really been great to see Canon push the envelope, maybe do 4K 60, maybe offer some other features. And these cameras do feel a little lackluster when you stack them up against Sony's recent announcements.
Yeah. The amazing thing is, though, that I don't know if you mentioned it there, that it doesn't have the crop on 4K.
I did not mention that, but that is a very huge point.
That was one thing that we've both been upset about on the EOS R and the EOS RP. Those are Canon's mirrorless cameras that are full frame, and you'd expect, full frame, you get the full sensor. No, not the case. But with this one, the crop sensor, it's a 32 megapixel sensor, and they're using the full sensor, most likely either sampling all the pixels and then downgrading the resolution to 4K, or doing some line skipping possibly. We're not quite sure.
I guess the other thing I will add is because these are APS-C sensor size cameras, you will get a 1.6 times crop just on everything, but that's normal across all APS-C cameras.
Yeah, and it's not a bad thing necessarily. I know a lot of people actually like it for wildlife photography, sports photography, things where you need to use long lenses. It's actually a way to get closer to the action where you don't have to, go buy a 600 millimeter lens. You can work with a, 2 to 400 and basically get the equivalent of a 600 millimeter. So
absolutely,
really nice to see. Moving on, this is still the quick news segment, even though it's kind of been dominated by like cameras and just all these huge releases. The last thing that we saw was a camera that could fit, inside of one of these cameras. Well, I don't know. That's not really a good comparison.
What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Now?
It's basically, it could sit easily on one of the screens of these cameras. Maybe that's the best way. This is the Insta360 Mini. Now I forgot the name of it.
I'm reading right here. Insta360 GO.
Go, that's what it was. And yeah, that is a camera that is like about the size of a thumb, I guess is the best way to say it. Like it's,
Ew.
how would you, like how big would you say it is? Like what's a good size comparison?
All right, I would say
I'm looking
if
around
you
at stuff near me.
get a chapstick. If you have chapstick, you have chap lips, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh
that's
man,
probably
let me grab some chapstick. It's about the size of maybe one and a half chapstick containers.
Not even, no, it's about one.
One chapstick container.
Yeah.
Camera. This is a camera we're talking about, by the way.
Yeah, and this is aimed at, being like an action camera, but not being like, take away the action part of it, put in a little more camera, take a little bit from the spectacles of capturing everyday life POV, and that's kind of what it is. If you don't know who Insta360 is, they make actually some 360 cameras. Surprise, surprise. And one of them is the popular 360X. And they've pioneered this really popular stabilization methods, which allow, the camera can be spinning every which way, and they can get some crazy stabilization using software and the, accelerometers, sensors that are in the camera. And that's basically what they're doing here. This Insta360 GO is basically, supposed to be kind of that camera that the vlogger can bring with them as an extra camera, or can be for someone to put up on Instagram. Starts at $200, and has some really cool stuff with auto editing, hyperlapse, time lapses, stuff like that, and features a really new and unique charging system where you just kind of clip it into its case and it sticks with a magnet and can charge on the go.
This is looking super neat. I think this is definitely going to be a really fascinating camera when it gets in the hands of creators. I think there's a lot of untapped potential with it. And this is kind of, I think, the challenge with these cameras, possibly even with GoPro and action cams. Like, what is the real use case for it? Sometimes it's hard to see right off the bat, but this is a very tiny camera that's going to have some really cool creative possibilities.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a Swiss Army knife. It's kind of what I'd say.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
If you put a lens, put a lens on like one end of the flat side of a Swiss Army knife. That's kind of what it looks like. It records in clips, which is kind of cool. You can either hit a 15-second, 30-second, or 60-second clips. 60-second or 30-second only. 15 seconds, you can edit it in the app. And then once you record all your highlights, your clips and stuff, or your time lapses or whatever, you then plug it into your smartphone. And using the app, which I think is called FlowCut, or Flash Cut, sorry. It's an AI-powered app, and it can do all the cropping and the cutting and put it to music and stuff. And yeah, basically get you something that you can, film all day, your travels, your adventures or whatever with your friends. Plug it in when you get home or when you're driving home at the end of the night, and do a quick edit, ready to go, and have it uploaded in like less than 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. It looks like they're really trying to market it towards consumers with that AI auto editing features. Basically, you can go on a trip, on vacation, wear this Insta360 GO with you. It'll capture footage, and then you plug it in to your phone. At the end of the day, it'll auto edit an amazing highlight of your adventures. At least that's what they want you to see. It looks like it also charges via a somewhat AirPod looking like case.
That's that magnetic case. It's kind of reminiscent of either the AirPods or some of like the Apple Watch charging things, where it has that like magnetic contact points that you got to line up. But it's supposedly a very strong magnet. You can clip it on into there, and they even have a mount that's like a necklace with a little medallion that you can put behind your shirt and just put the thing up, and it'll clip through your shirt and magnetically hold right on there, so you can get cool POV shots. The thing is, and this is the big catch, resolution-wise, we were talking about 6K earlier. No, obviously no 6K. 4K is a very popular thing. GoPros have that. Pretty much all smartphones. Nope, no 4K. All right, 2.7K. Yes, this records at 2.7K. However, you can only really export it at 1080p 920 into the app, either cropping square 1080p or rectangular, 16:9 1080p 1920. And that's 25 frames a second. Then if you want to go higher speeds, say 1,000 frames a second, that you're going to be stuck at 1600 by 900. So little low, definitely. So not ideal, for people actually creating for online stuff like real filmmaking. But obviously this is intended for mobile viewing, mobile social networks, and for $200, can't really complain.
Yeah, this seems very affordable. It's a really cool offering, and I could actually see it competing very well with GoPro in terms of how I'm seeing my friends use GoPros, the kind of footage they're showing on their website. So that seems like a pretty neat camera.
And mentioning GoPro, we did actually get some GoPro rumors for the GoPro 8. Should be coming out most likely. We'll see at the end of September. That's traditionally when GoPro announces their new cameras. Maybe they'll announce it a little early, but it'll probably ship mid to end September, possibly October. And it'll be called the GoPro 8 and feature some accessories that you can add, like a screen that could flip up, lights that you can put on top, stuff like that, possibly. And we'll see the GoPro 360 Max, which will be their new replacement for the GoPro Fusion or their 360 camera. So, yeah, exciting stuff coming from the action community. But those aren't the rumors we're going to talk about. We're here mainly to talk about some exciting rumors and speculations for the Apple event coming up on September 10th.
Woo! Mark your calendars. Get excited.
Yeah.
Request your vacation time now.
Check
so you can
your
take the
invite
day off.
that you got the invite, right?
Oh man, I did not get an invite.
Huh? I didn't get mine either from them. That's weird.
Are they UPS, FedEx? Do you know how those come usually?
I don't know how they send that. Maybe it got picked up in my spam folder. Probably I already deleted that. So I probably got an invite to their event, but I just deleted it. Oh well, whatever.
Usual happens to everybody, Gabe. Take it easy, man.
Yeah, I know. They're really catering to a lot of channels under 20, 30,000 and podcasts under 1,000 listens. So they were really going after us. They're probably going to be upset we're not there.
That's okay. Maybe they'll make an announcement on the stage, see if anyone's seen us or inquire about us.
Yeah. But anyways, we can still talk about what we're going to see there.
Sure,
we'll be
some
watching
predictions.
It streaming online. Yeah. But before we do, why don't we get into our not sponsored bit? Talk about who we're not sponsored by, who's not paying us to talk about them, what is not paying us to talk about them, or why is not paying us to talk about. When is not. I guess it's only what and who.
Gabe, let's just get 30 seconds on the clock and get this not sponsored segment ready to go.
All right, are you first or am I first? Who's first?
I can go first.
Who's on first? No, what's on second?
I don't know. Who's on third?
I don't know who's on third, I think. I don't know. You go first. All right,
okay.
You ready?
I think I'm ready.
30 seconds on the clock. Here we go.
Your desk is incredibly important to your work, your health, and creating the content you love. Consider getting the Jarvis Bamboo Wooden Upstanding Desk for maximum performance, aesthetic, and allowing you to create content on your feet. Check out the Jarvis Bamboo Upstanding Desk today. It's a wooden bamboo standing desk by Fully. It's affordable, stylish, allows you to stand up to make outstanding work.
I think that could have probably been 10 seconds, that one.
Yeah, it got kind of repetitive in there.
I feel like their title of their product is pretty self-explanatory.
It really is.
Now,
it really is.
Do you have this desk?
Yeah, so I have this desk. It's currently at the office because I spend a lot more time at the office right now than I do at home.
Yeah.
It's super nice. I love the height adjustments. I love being able to stand and do work. And something that I think is underrated is it can actually go really low. And I find having a desk that's lower to the floor, depending on what chair I'm using, can make a more ergonomic position for me.
Lie on the ground, right?
It's more like
kind of lie under it and like have it like right on top of you.
I think you're thinking of different things. All right, let me get 30 seconds on the clop.
All right,
the clop here.
Clop. Yeah, the clop.
That's right. I like to make up words when I'm speaking on a podcast, but only when speaking on a podcast.
We're not sponsored by anyone, so you don't have to. We're not reading from any scripts or anything. We don't have to get any copyright. So
this is true. 5 minutes. Oh wait, we use stopwatches.
5 minutes on the clock. All right, I can do it for 5 minutes. Here we go.
Peruses. Wow, you must really like this product. All right, we've got the stopwatch up. On your mark, get set, begin.
Today, I'd like to say we're also not sponsored by Ecosia. Now, you probably use Google to search like most people out there. However, if you've been hearing, we've been cutting down a lot of trees around the world or burning a lot of trees. So if you want to do something good with your searches, use Ecosia. They're a search engine that plants trees with the ad revenue they get. 80% of their profits go to charities and organizations that focus on reforestation, and they've planted to date 66 million trees thus far. It's an iPhone, Android app, or Chrome extension. Check it out. Do some good with your searches.
That's
Boom.
it. Wow.
Yeah. Do you use them at all?
I have used them, and then I went back to Google because Google's just better at searching.
Yeah, I mean, I use them off and on. I have the app on my phone. If I remember to, I'll go search some stuff through there. Put the Chrome extension on a couple of different, profiles I use, so I use them there. Yeah, it's a nice thing to do. They're doing some good for the world, make you feel a little bit better about, what your life has. A lot of tech isn't very good for the planet, so this is a welcomed change.
It is. I do appreciate what they're doing, and I like their efforts. I guess you could use them to search for Google. I know people do that, probably an embarrassing amount.
Yeah.
No, that's probably the number one search term right now.
Let me go on Bing and search for Google.
What happens.
Yeah.
All right, Gabe, let's go in. We're going to be having an iPhone event next week by the time this podcast is announced.
Yeah, it's September 10th on a Tuesday.
People are going to be searching for new terms for all these new announcements. What do you think people are going to be searching for? What do you think is going to be shown at this keynote?
Well, I think they're going to be searching for our podcast to see what our predictions are and getting our bingo card that we're creating right now with our predictions, because it is Apple event bingo. This isn't a yearly tradition. This is a first-time tradition, I guess.
Actually,
maybe it'll become...
If you go on Reddit, this is a real thing. People do this online, but we're going to be making a card so you can play along too.
Yeah, people do this for movies. People do this for anything pretty much out there you can do it for. We're going to be making a card, so if you want to go to our social media, Pinch to Zoom Pod or Pinch to Zoom Podcast, you can screenshot it, play along, and have some fun during the keynote event. All right, so how you play bingo, it's a 5x5 card, basically. We're not going to be talking too much about where we're putting these on the card, because that is more of a visual thing, and podcasts, as you know, are an audio medium, so great planning on our part. But the only thing we got to say is in the center, in the free space, I have determined what we're going to put there is that they're going to say it's the greatest iPhone they've ever made.
I think we're going to have Tim Cook specifically enunciating that sentence.
This is supposed to be a free space. We don't have to go any further. It's just,
okay.
This is pretty much a given. I think they've said it every year. I kind of would want them to not say it once. Like, guys, you got to be honest. We've phoned it in this year, and we've just gone back and repackaged the iPhone 8 a little bit. Not too great, but hey, we're going to make it look better, but it's still not the greatest.
It's like, guys, we made new phones this year, but we were actually talking with the engineering team and some of the developers, and this is the first year they haven't upgraded. They actually think last year's model is better. So
yeah, it's kind of like when you're trying to cook a new recipe and you're like, oh, this is gonna be so good, and they're like, this didn't come out as good as I was thinking, and then you tell the people you're serving it to, you're like, guys, I tried hard, and they're like, oh, okay, So imagine everyone just is like really appreciative. Apple, we appreciate that honesty. We're gonna go buy those new $1,200 smartphones for sure.
It's like, help us meet our quotas.
Yeah.
All right.
But
so
that's the free space in the center. Now we're just going to go through back and forth, alternating on our predictions. Should have, I think, 24 total. Hopefully we get there. All right.
We'll find out.
You go first?
Me?
Yeah. Take it off.
All right. So I think the natural segue into this is, we were talking a lot about cameras at the start of this podcast. iPhone, incredibly popular camera. I'd actually be interested to see which smartphone is responsible for capturing the most pictures. Besides the point, this year on the new iPhones, we're seeing a triple camera setup. I predict this will actually be limited to the iPhone. Let's call it the iPhone 11 for this podcast. I think this is going to be limited to the iPhone 11 Max.
Yeah, that's probably a good prediction. I mean, we definitely won't see it on the lower cost iPhone, but question of whether they'll bring it to the middle one is interesting. I kind of can see where you're right, because they did bring the two cameras first to the larger phone, the 7 Plus, 8 Plus first, and then eventually brought it to the regular sized one. But don't we have, no, I guess we don't have 3 cameras on the regular size S10 as well, so. Isn't it
we
just
do.
2? Oh, we do.
Yeah, we do
have 3. Do you have 4 cameras on the larger one? No.
The larger one for the S10 was getting an additional front-facing depth sensor.
Yeah. So I guess it kind of keeps in line with some of the stuff other manufacturers are doing. I'd say that's a pretty safe bet that we're getting 3 cameras. The main thing is whether or not we'll get it on both of those.
I really hope it is on both. All right, Gabe, what do you got?
Well, I guess before we get further in, let's just talk about the naming. I'm going to put down for one of the spots that they're going to get rid of the numbers. Now, this is going out on a limb a bit, and people have been saying it for a while.
Wait.
But
so we had numbers, and then we had Roman numerals. Are you saying they're just going to drop everything?
I don't know. I'm very iffy on this one, but I just wanted to go with something. We have to get out there, do some risks. We can't just easily fill out the whole card. So yeah, I'm putting down that they're going to go maybe call it the iPhone. The cheaper one will be called the iPhone R possibly. And then you'll have an iPhone Pro for the larger one, maybe. I don't know. It's a bit skeptical because they do like the numbers because that incentivizes people upgrading every year. And getting rid of them, people will be more likely to keep their phones longer.
I can kind of see that because they did this with iPad, right? We had just at one point the new iPad. That's what it was called. Yep. I do think that was more confusing for consumers. So in my personal opinion, I think they will attach a number to this. I think we'll switch away from the Roman numerals because, we had 10. And then they did their S year, so they did 10S, which makes sense. This year, we're looking at a new number system. I think we're just going to go back to regular old numbers. This is going to be iPhone 11.
I don't know, because they gotta put a stop to the numbers eventually. I mean, are we going to be on the iPhone 36 eventually?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. What's your next prediction?
My prediction is about the design of these phones. I think we're going to see the new iPhones. This is the alternating year. Every 2 years, Apple comes out historically with a new design besides the iPhone 6, 6S, 7, 8. That was all the same. But besides that, it's usually every 2 years. I think we're going to see an iPhone design mirroring the new iPad Pro design that was announced in the fall. This had flat edges, really sleek. I think going with that could make these new iPhones look absolutely amazing.
That would be very annoying for me because I have one of the iPhones from the last year, and it will most likely make me extremely jealous and want the new ones even more. So let's not do that, Apple. Let's make it look exactly the same so I can still pretend that I have the new iPhone. But yeah, I could see why they do that, and that, as you said, they do that every other year. This is the design update year, so we can look forward to that. My next prediction is that we won't see new Apple Watches won't see a new edition of the Apple Watch. It's in an Apple Watch 5, and we'll instead only see ceramic and titanium editions added to the lineup of the Apple Watch 4.
Well, Gabe, I think that's reasonable, but only time will tell.
That is very true. Thank you for stating an absolute fact. These are supposed to be predictions that are out on limbs, okay? So Let's get a little further out on a limb. What do you got?
Ooh, here's one. If we're going out on the limb, as in likely to not happen at all, I'm predicting we're going to get a fast charging wall adapter in the box.
Okay, yeah, you might as well be saying that Steve Jobs is going to come back from the grave. That's more likely than a fast charger.
Why did I even put that? It's just not gonna.
But I would love to see that, and that could be likely if you consider what other manufacturers are doing. Apple does tend to take what Android did 3 years ago and then pretend it's the newest thing and that they thought of it. And I think it was about 3 or so years ago.
Yeah, that seems right. 3 or so years ago, we started getting fast chargers, and we're like, hey, this would be really cool, and they didn't have. Right? So yeah, maybe I don't know. Throwing it out there.
That'd be exciting. My next prediction for this Bingo Apple game is that they will have a developer on stage demoing a new video game or something that will be released with Apple Arcade.
Ooh, I had that too. I think that's really likely.
Yeah, they pretty much try to do this every Apple event or every WWDC. Have someone on stage demoing a cool new 3D game and showcasing what you can get on the App Store. And they have the plus of this time they're launching the Apple Arcade. So yeah, this is almost a given, I'm pretty sure.
I think we'll actually see Apple Arcade go live on September 10th or that Friday. And to your point, yeah, Apple had game developers showcasing AR Lego, so like constructing things in Lego and AR. We had Minecraft in AR. I think we're going to see another game
AR?
company. Yeah.
AR we're going to see it in, or just a 3D base, like 3D RPG or something like that.
Maybe. They've been pushing a lot of AR, so it could go either way.
All right, well, moving on, what's your next prediction?
Okay, I think we're going to see a stupid amount of iPhone colors this year.
Yeah, I had that down too. I had rainbow-colored iPhones.
And Gabe, like, what drove you to this prediction?
Probably the same thing that did for you, which was the invite that I didn't get. So I looked at other people's invites, like Marquez and some of the, MacRumors.com, some of the invites they got. And the Apple logo is made up of multiple colors, kind of like the original Apple logo in the 80s or so. That was like the Mac's 3 or 5 stripes, I think, of colors. This one's kind of more of an ethereal, kind of like glass 5 colors stacked to form the Apple logo. And they always try to do some little hint in their invites, so that's what I think I'm going to take from it, and a lot of people have been taking from it online.
I think Apple saw success with their iPhone XR, which shipped with a lot of really fun colors, and I think this year we're going to see a similar color lineup for both I'll call it the 11R and the 11 and the 11 Max.
You think they'll bring it to their more premium line?
I do. I actually do.
I could see that. I hope they still keep around some of the traditional, like gold and space gray and stuff like that. But some colors would be a nice mix-up. We've seen that from Samsung, with their blues and the pinks and stuff like that. So it'd be exciting. Keep an eye out for that. My next prediction... I have to cross out the rainbow-colored iPhones because I had that too, obviously. I'm going to say that we're going to see a video shot and edited completely on the iPhone.
I love that prediction.
Yeah, it seems pretty likely. I mean, maybe not, but the big thing Apple is trying to showcase this year, obviously, is the cameras, with 3 cameras on the back, we're saying, of the newer, bigger iPhones. And they also have the new video editing software in iOS 13, so... seems like a perfect marriage right there. Perfect way to promote both.
I love the way you are seeing that. That's a great idea. I really think we could see this happen. Do you think we'll get 6K?
No 6K most likely. I think it'll still be 4K, which is totally fine. Do you think this will be done by a creator or someone like that?
Yeah.
Or like a filmmaker or someone maybe? Think
of it. We've had Jonathan Morrison from TLD doing like a bunch of editing on iPad challenges. We've seen that kind of bouncing around YouTube here and there. I think it's plausible Apple could bring in a creator, something like that, to edit together a complete video on the new iPhone.
Yeah, the one thing I would say actually, as I was saying, creator, is I think Samsung has been gearing more for the YouTube creator space. Apple seems to do like traditional filmmakers or stuff like that, so that might be what we get, or we just get something that they made on their own, edited completely on the iPhone.
Sure. All right, next up for me, I'm going larger batteries. I think this is basically a given. iPhones,
yeah. They're always going to increase the battery life, so it's like better battery or better processor, most likely both.
I think both on this year. A better processor is also a given. I never actually wrote that down, but I think we're going to see...
Yeah, that could have been our free space, the A13.
A13. What, like Bionic? They already did Bionic. What's another...
A13 Terminator.
Well, no, what's another like buzzword?
I don't know.
AI?
No, A13 maybe like... I don't know. Yeah, we'll see what it is, but there probably will be an associated buzzword.
I love that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you're definitely right with the bigger batteries, and they could possibly do that with the new design of the phones. One thing I'm hoping we're not going to see gotten rid of is the 3D touch. I'm hoping that this will stay around. There's the rumors they're going to get rid of it, but I don't know about you. I personally actually have really grown to like 3D touch.
I love it. I love it passionately. In fact, if the new iPhone doesn't have it, this might be the first year I don't buy it think I'm going to return it and then keep it and sell my old one, I might actually buy it and then sell it because I'm absolutely in love with 3D Touch. I use it all the time on a daily basis, quickly composing messages, just moving my cursor around when I'm composing stuff. 3D Touch, tremendously useful. And it's why I would even recommend people get a gently used iPhone 10 over a new 10R.
Here comes the Swappa plug.
I was actually not going to plug Swappa there, so we can just move on.
You've like Stockholmed me into like already anticipating when it's coming and just doing it for you.
Yeah, basically.
All right. Well, what's your next prediction here?
I liked going with the color splash. This is out there. I didn't see anyone talking about this. Also, I didn't search for it, but I'm gonna throw it.
It's easy to not see it when you cover your eyes.
AirPods. We're gonna see AirPods with color.
Ooh, are you saying a black? Are you gonna see that they're gonna go the dark
I think
mode?
we're gonna see black AirPods. I'm going out there. I think we're gonna see AirPods to match the new colored iPhones. Because how cool would that be?
Damn.
Getting
That
a
is
new
very...
iPhone, new AirPods, color matched. That's what I think.
That's a pretty good prediction. I like that. I haven't seen that many places. You think they will be actually new AirPods or just new colors?
I'm going to have to go with new colors at this point because they just did that update.
Yeah, I would agree. I had a similar one for my next one. I think they're going to announce, or maybe not announce, but release alongside some new Beats headphones.
I see that. I can bump to that.
Yeah, good one there.
Yeah,
they haven't released any new Beats headphones in a while. As you know, Apple owns Beats, and it could be alongside that AirPods thing, or if they don't do the AirPods, maybe they'll just do some new Beats headphones in similar colors. It might not be announced at the keynote, but I think you'll see them in like the promo pictures and stuff like that.
Sure, on the store page.
Yep, or on like some screen slides during the keynote.
Sure, I buy that. Speaking of buying things, prediction, I think we're going to see an Apple credit card update. I think we're going to get some stats, how many people have signed up, a little bit of a touch on that. I know both you and I now have our Apple cards, so I think there will be mention of it. I think even with the pricing of the new iPhones, they'll bring it up there as well. I could see them talking about the 3% cash back if you choose to buy with Apple Card.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. In a way, they could advertise the prices as being lower if you get that cash back. And Apple is definitely one that likes to, flaunt their stuff and be like, yeah, look at how many signups we got or stuff like that. So I'll definitely expect that. And also, I know they've recently released a partnership with Uber of doing 5% back. And there are probably going to be other companies in the future, so they might be announcing maybe some of those possibly alongside.
I agree. All right, Gabe, what do you got next?
Next thing I got is kind of this is actually it isn't about the event. It's about what we won't see at the event. I think we're going to be waiting till another fall event in October for the 16-inch MacBook and new iPads.
I agree with that. That's usually how it's done. Apple will have a dedicated event focused on their iPhone, Apple Watch, and health. Then there will be a follow-up event in the fall focused on iPad and Mac. And we have heard rumors about this new 16-inch MacBook Pro for a while. I do think it's very plausible that's going to come out later in the fall.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see them doing much else at this event. But it does feel kind of empty with just the new iPhones and not if they don't release a new Apple Watch and just the new like titanium and ceramic versions. It feels kind of empty.
I could see them talking more about their services in this one. Maybe they launch Apple TV Plus.
That's not coming out till November, I'm pretty sure.
They could still talk about it.
They could talk about it. I think
really
that was actually one of my predictions was, I'll just get to it since we basically touched it now, was that they're going to have Apple's TV streaming service sprinkled throughout the keynote, but never really talk about it exclusively. Like, it'll be like I said, on the slide, for the showing the iOS 13 on the new iPhones, they'll have the TV Plus app on there and stuff like that.
Sure. Like they had the Pinch to Zoom podcast icon in iTunes on the
on the WWDC. That was really nice of them.
That was cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, I don't know how many we've done now. I think we're like over halfway, definitely. What's your next one?
Speaking of things we're not going to see, air power. Just no mention, no talk. It's just...
Well, that's. I mean, I don't think we'll ever see that again. That has vanished into thin air.
Okay, how about another one?
Okay.
USB-C on iPhone.
You think we're not going to see that?
I do not think we're going to see it. I want to see it desperately. Apple pioneered USB-C on all their new laptops. The new iPads, USB-C. But I think we're going to see Lightning on these new iPhones, and that's just the way it's going to be.
The question is, and going back to your fast charging adapter, is will we see a USB-C to Lightning cable included, or will it be a traditional USB to Lightning, like USB 3.0 to Lightning?
I really like that. I think we're going to see a standard, annoying power brick. I think it will be USB-C, though. I think this is the year we're going to see that.
You think so? I feel like we'll never see that from Apple. I feel like, we'll be all wirelessly charging, and they'll still be including that USB 3.0 regular chunky USB charger.
Perhaps.
But I would love to see it. I'd love them to prove me wrong and give us an extra spot on our bingo card. All right. Did we mention privacy? That's one of mine. I think Apple loves to, throw their weight around about how much they're into privacy because they don't have to, use all your data and steal all your data and siphon every little bit out so that they can sell ads to companies or sell you more products like Amazon, Facebook, or Google. So, yeah, they're going to talk about privacy quite a bit, I think, and about how much they're doing to help you protect yours.
That's a really great idea. Fits well into their strategy. Especially after that recent scandal where Siri recordings were being sent off and analyzed and people were hearing things they should not have been hearing. So I buy that.
Yeah, though wasn't that was the Siri recordings are anonymized though.
This is true.
So they could hear you saying, "Oh, I'm going to go kill that person," but they wouldn't know who it was. Which is good. Because then the police didn't catch me.
It's good. Wait, what? Gabe?
Moving on. What's your next prediction?
I think we're going to see... Scrolling... All right, here's another one. OLED displays on all the iPhones.
Really? Huh. Because aren't a lot of people thinking that we'll see LCDs on them?
This is true. I'm going with this prediction. Maybe we could change it in the actual bingo card.
No. I like it. Go with it. We got to go out on some limbs.
The justification,
go out on the smallest branches.
Hanging on by a thread.
Oh, it's creaking. I still keep going out.
It's like that squirrel that just goes to the end of the branch and is just bouncing up and down in the wind. Anyway,
reaching out for the OLED screen.
The reason I think we're going to see this is because in a previous episode in Quick News, we covered how Apple had an agreement with Samsung to purchase a certain number of OLED displays. It's coming up on their new phone season. Based on that agreement, I could see Apple basically purchasing additional display units and putting them in all of their phone lineup this year.
Well, I'm not sure if I agree with that, but we'll put it on the board because this is a group board we're doing. Because personally, I couldn't come up with 25 predictions on my own. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we got. How many you got left?
I'm seeing like 5 or 6.
Yeah, I got like 4 left. So you go throw another one out there.
Increased iCloud storage.
You think lower the pricing or?
I think we'll get more included for free. Is that
okay?
Is that
how much
bold?
do they include for free now? 100 gigabytes or 50?
5.
Okay, never mind.
5.
As you can tell,
gigs.
I have been paying for mine 250 gigabytes. I think it is now for
200.
About 2 years.
Yeah. 5 gigs for free. I think we're gonna see that bumped up to match the competition. I think we're gonna see 10, maybe.
That's still not much, but yeah, I can see that.
Maybe for families.
In a similar vein, as they're going to be having these new cameras taking great pictures, I think we're going to get more storage. I think we're going to finally get our first terabyte iPhone.
Oh, wow. I hadn't even thought of that.
Well, you got Samsung doing it with both the Note and the S10. It's only fair that Apple does it, and they need some more high profit, high margin items to be able to offset how they're going to be having to price the lower priced XR or 11R. to cut into the competition. So yeah, I can see a iPhone whatever it is Pro with 1 terabyte selling for possibly like $1,600-1,700.
That is astronomical. Their iPads do come with a terabyte, so I'd say it's not unreasonable. I think
you shoot more video and stuff with your iPhone. So if it's 4K and you're shooting a great video, great photos, especially people who have it as their only camera, only travel device. Yeah, having a terabyte is not really unreasonable.
Hey, let's put it on the board. I'll go with a camera prediction. Speaking of cameras, jumping back to that, along with the triple camera setup, I think the other big thing we basically need to see from Apple is better low light performance.
That is, that's the Google Pixel effect coming in there, because Apple used to be one of the best, smartphone camera makers. They still are arguably, the top 3 because there's not that many smartphone makers, but they have fallen behind, especially to Google's Pixel, Huawei, and now even Samsung coming on strong with the low light ability of Huawei and Pixel. So yeah, that would be exciting. You think that's going to be mainly software, new sensors? What's it going to be?
This is going to be software. I think what we're going to see is Apple taking images with all 3 cameras and using software to stitch those images together to create a final result with significantly better low light performance than we've seen on previous models.
That'll be interesting to see, but exciting, and will definitely fall in line with their whole better cameras that this iPhone seems to be focusing on. I just mentioned Huawei. I think there's going to be a subtle dig at Huawei and Android, and kind of the US ban on Huawei that's been happening, and like that whole debacle. This is going out there a bit because I feel like this is, even for Apple, this is getting a bit too much into politics and stuff, but I could see them, a couple subtle hints here and there that they're throwing a shiv into Huawei. Boom, take that. Like emphasizing how they're based in the US or stuff like that.
No, I don't. I'm actually gonna like full brakes, tap on the brakes.
Pass this?
Yeah, I think we're not gonna be seeing this. I'm passing
putting it on the board because we need.
Hey, I'm making my own board. I'm cutting that square out.
Wow, no. All right.
Okay,
what's your next prediction?
Here's a fun one. Apple Pencil support for iPhone. We talked about possibly losing 3D touch. I could see us getting haptic touch. What do they call it for the 10R? That and Apple Pencil support. I'm throwing it out there.
That's the one I would cut out though, because that goes against. I mean, Steve Jobs' number one thing was no pencil for the iPhone. He released it, against the Palm Pilot and other devices at the time, being like, "Oh, this is the phone that you touch with your fingers, and it's so simple." No pencil support. No. Get away from me. But you might be right. So, anyways, next thing I have is reverse wireless charging, because they have those wireless AirPods out there with the wireless charging case. Yeah, I think we're going to get the ability to set those down on top of your phone and charge them, kind of like what AirPower could have done.
I actually agree with this, and this fits super well into my colored AirPod prediction. Right, just imagine, Gabe, we have colored AirPods, beautifully colored, matching the iPhone's reverse wireless charging.
Yeah, I can see it. I can already see those graphics made up now. You're selecting your combo. Oh, do you want your AirPods to match your color? And they're sitting right on the Apple iPhone 11, matching perfectly the color, charging wirelessly. It's
with
beautiful.
That free engraving too.
Yeah, have you gotten any of your products engraved?
My very first iPod Shuffle was engraved.
Yeah, I think that was about the last time it was ever cool to get your Apple products engraved.
Yep, that's about right. Moving on to something that I think will be super cool to see.
Yeah. Your final prediction, by the way, use it carefully. This better be something you care about.
This is something I care dearly about. I don't think we're gonna see it, but I still want to throw it out there because I want it so bad.
All right.
Almost as much as you want your A7S III. And this is, of course, news about Apple's Mac Pro. I'd love to get confirmation on ship date, pricing, like just let me spec it out. I want to see what it is.
Yeah, that would be good. I know you really want that, but I think we're probably going to see that likely in the October event, most likely. Or I guess they could do a little like quiet release of like, oh, here it is, finally shipping, and price and everything like that. But I think for you, it'd be better to wait till the October event, because then you could also possibly see the new MacBook Pro 16-inch and decide if you want to buy that instead.
This is true. Actually thinking about it now, having that could potentially take away from the iPhone spotlight. These events really are focused on iPhone, Apple Watch, health, all of those things. So I think this will be an iPhone-centric keynote with hints of services sprinkled throughout, and there'll be a separate keynote for new hardware, probably October.
Yeah, but put it on the board. This is something that you want. You got to have those spots that we really are rooting for. So my last one is, I think, a pretty easy prediction. Could almost be our free space, but it said it's going to be shipping September 20th.
And Gabe, how did you come up with this date? Did you just throw a dart at a calendar and see where it landed?
Yeah, I pulled up the calendar app on my laptop, threw a dart, and then realized that was a horrible idea. No, pretty much I looked online, seemed to be what a lot of people were saying, and it basically just goes off what Apple has done the past, really, I want to say like 7-8 releases. It's going back forever, like tale as old as time. The sun will rise tomorrow, and Apple will announce that you can pre-order the device starting the first Friday after, and the second Friday after they will be shipping and available in stores.
Yeah, that's totally, absolutely correct. That's the way it's been done. I love it. Will you be staying up until 3 a.m. to place your pre-order for this new iPhone the Friday after?
What do you mean staying up till? I'm already up at 3 a.m. usually anyway, so this will be
well,
totally
will you
normal.
Choose to be coincidentally awake and decide to place a pre-order?
Possibly. I definitely would want to use the Apple card to get 3% back. Or I could use the Best Buy card to get 5% back, though, now that I'm thinking about it. So I could do either one of those. I don't know. We'll have to see what the release is really bringing with it, which one of our predictions are right, how many of them are right. That's kind of going to determine whether or not I want to pre-order it. I mean, are you just carte blanche pre-ordering this phone?
Yeah, I'm absolutely pre-ordering. Like, the unboxing videos, as just ridiculous as they are, perform pretty well. People want to see this phone, how it works on other networks. It's going to be eSIM compatible. So yeah, I think I'm basically pulling the trigger on this one. I'm going to be grabbing it, enjoying that 3% back, and seeing what it's like. All
right. Well, that is our Apple predictions, our Apple bingo boards. Check them out, as we said, on our social media. Pinch to Zoom Pod on Twitter, Pinch to Zoom Podcast on Instagram. And yeah, play along with us or play along with your friends and make your own bingo boards for the Apple event if you're going to watch it. We'll, of course, have our wrap-up next week on a Tuesday coming out, talking about the whole Apple event, the iPhones, everything that came out, which one of our predictions were right, how many of them were wrong, most likely. And yeah, so look forward to that. That's pretty much it. I don't know. Do you have anything else, Stetson?
I think this is the first time I've written out predictions for a new iPhone release. I'm super excited to see which ones come true, which ones were just horribly wrong.
Every single one's wrong. It's like you're punished for writing them out. They don't even release a new iPhone. They actually announced we're discontinuing the iPhone line. It's like, no, I cursed it.
Hey, that could just be a rename, like you mentioned. I'd be interested to see if anyone even gets bingo with the boards we produce.
Not the iPhone, the U phone. Thinking about other people. Yeah.
I love it. All right. That's it. Thank you for listening. You can find us on social at Pinch to Zoom Pod and at Pinch to Zoom Podcast.
I already said those, so thank you for replugging them.
Everyone needs to follow them, in case you haven't already. I'm Stetson.
And I'm Gabe. Still waiting for that A7S III Sony, if you're still listening.
And we will talk to you next Tuesday, September 10th, for the bonus episode of the new iPhone.
Will they have an AI version of Johnny Ive?
I think this is what they will have. Wait, because he's not with the company anymore, right?
No, that should have been one of our spaces. They're going to have a 3D hologram double of him pop up like they did for Tupac. And he's going to be like, It's made the best iPhone ever. It's so beautiful.
Machined from aluminium.